we're going to begin with a question. This is the Falco practice guide. I'm fulfilling a sub goal now. So here's a question. What's the point of practice? Practice to me is one of the 3 keys of growth. It works with friendlies and analysis to improve your game. Practice helps you fix what you mess up in friendlies, or it allows you to fix what you see in analysis as well. And it also gives you new ideas. And those new ideas are then brought to friendlies, and those friendlies can then be analyzed, or you can push those ideas into analysis to say, would this have worked? So practice has a very important part in my view of growth, and so I do encourage you all to take it seriously. And practice can even help you prepare for things that you haven't seen yet if you want it to. But just getting better at the stuff you're already good at or covering some weaknesses can be fine as well. At a minimum, practice helps you maintain your technical efficiency so you can spend more time focusing on beating people, so it's still important. Even if you just want to do the minimum amount and just want to have fun playing people, practice, even for like 10 or 20 minutes a day, can still make that better as well. With that said, let's kind of start with basic practice. And basic practice is going to be kind of the groundwork for what I'm talking about, and the groundwork for the other things. I'm going to talk about basic practice, a little bit about neutral, and a little bit about punish. And I'm going to incorporate aspects of 20XX in order to do that. So, the reason I believe basic tech lays the groundwork for the other 2 is because basic tech allows you to practice your basic options, and without being able to do the basic options, you cannot then apply those basic options to be defensive, be aggressive, to be able to pressure shields and all that kind of stuff. So, basic practice is what I believe we should start with, and then from that go deeper into the other applications of it. And I'm going to show you what kind of I do in a minute, but I want to talk about how you approach basic practice outside of what I've already said. If you're learning the game, you want to start slow, be able to just kind of do the actions. So, for example, if I want to just do a laser, right? And it can be any laser. It doesn't have to be a low one like the one I just did. This laser's fine. That laser's fine. Different heights are okay. So, when you want to do a laser, right, the inputs are jump, B, and fast fall. Usually you want fast fall. So, if you just practice just short hopping, you want to make sure you can do this pretty much every time first, okay? And then maybe you want to practice short hop fast falling. So you're adding complexity, you're making it a little bit harder. And this is the difference between not fast falling and fast falling. And this is short hop, no laser, no fast fall. And you're just getting different heights. This is doing it as fast as possible. This is waiting a little more. You get the idea. And this is kind of putting it all together. And you're getting different heights. And you want to kind of practice when you're learning, especially, to build speed in that way. And by building speed, you ensure that you're going to be consistent. Because if you don't, you're going to be keeping bad habits that are going to be, coming out in all your other tech. If you want to laser down air, and your lasers are slow, or you get stuck in them, then you lose frames, and you might miss a punish, or you might miss a combo because your practice was off. So you can see a little bit already how this is all starting to relate to each other. So, another thing to keep in mind with the practice, and this is going to sound a bit silly, you want to, again, going slow and building speed, there's another thing that you can do here, and it's thinking of the impact that the entire technique has on the opponent. So, let's think about wave dash for this one. So wave dash, what impact will this have on the opponent? And it's a little bit weird for Falco, but you're moving forward. You have access to your ground tools. You're moving forward or backward, excuse me. You have access to your ground tools like tilt, smashes. You know, of course, you can laser, shine, whatever, right? The important thing is that you're changing space, and if you get closer or farther away from your opponent, if you get closer to your opponent, then that puts more pressure on them to act. If you get farther away, then maybe that makes them encouraged to take space, or it makes them feel a little bit less pressure, which can also be useful for you. So wave dash, you want to be thinking about while you're doing it, what impact does this have on the opponent? And even if you're like, I don't really know what it has, just thinking about it can make you... So many people can practice and they'll say, oh, well, I don't know what's going on with practice. I don't know what to think about. It just seems like I'm doing the same thing over and over. This is a way to get yourself to start thinking of the impact of what you do, to start, you know, playing the opponent and really interacting with them as opposed to just doing things at them. And even if you don't get it, I've noticed that a lot of people that I tell this to, they'll come back and they'll say, I don't really get it, but the practice worked and I was better at it and I was thinking more in matches. So I do encourage you to think about that when you can. Okay, so that's kind of the groundwork for the groundwork, and now we're going to talk about what techniques or what basic tech you want to practice. So I already showed off laser and wave dash, and those are good starts since they're simpler and they build to complex things. So with wave dash, you often want to combine it with dash, or you want to combine it with laser, or, you know, laser, wave dash, or you want to put all of them together. And these have different effects, which, you know, I was talking about before: moving forward, moving back, pressure, relieving pressure, and so on. So the important thing with these simple techniques is that you can build so much on them. So if starting with the simpler things, even starting with just dash, really, just making sure you know the limit of it, the difference between a flick dash and a full press dash, when you can cut your dash, when you can dash again, and when you see you just stop there if you try to press it too early. So these sorts of things, just getting used to the limits of your tools can be really helpful as well. And to kind of talk about specifics a little bit more, lasers are for locking the opponent down or making them act because they don't want to be locked down, and you want to build around that. So if you're trying to lock someone down, shooting a little bit more and moving in can be pretty good, or wave dashing in, because you want them to stay locked down. You want them to feel the pressure from your moves. And then with wave dash, maybe you're wanting to kind of like feel out what's going on. So you want to, and you want to move back a little bit that way. Those are some really basic ways to build complexity off of what you're doing. And again, knowing your individual tool and how it works allows you to then combine them, and they become more than the sum of their parts. Don't worry too much about all that. Just focus on getting the basics down and connecting with your options and building in ways that seem to kind of make sense to you, and use analysis and discussion with other people to refine your understanding. You'll be able to figure out whatever you need to. Just don't get overwhelmed, okay? And for things out of wave dash, sometimes you want to wave dash up tilt, like if someone's on a platform, you think a fox is going to jump in off the platform, or a sheik's on the platform, you know. So the wave dash can be useful. The wave dash, you can carry your momentum with short hop. Well, and so you can go, so if I go like this, I don't go as far as if I wave dash first. So sometimes, even though I'm all the way over here, I can threaten this platform, and that's pretty good. So, these are kind of your base. These are your real basics, and you can go, and you can, you know, you want to practice when you're lasering. You want to practice different laser heights, mid, low, high. You want to be able to do your different laser heights. You want to be able to do your different lasers, and you want to know the point of them. You want to be able to combine them with things, and this is kind of your basic neutral practice, but it can also be for different things. For, you know, keeping someone contained if they barely get out of a combo, you want to be able to have stuff to go into for that. And you also want to be able to, you know, practice, you know, all the stuff that, you know, people talk about. So, edge dashes, you know, so your edge tech, you want to be able to get the different height lasers. So those are two lower ones. These are higher ones. Those are more middle ones, and you want to be able to high low. And so you want to be able to change your laser heights with. You'll be able to change your laser heights with your double jump timing and your laser and your B press. And then you want to be able to edge dash. You want to be able to refresh. Don't be sure not to rush when you're doing this. This is my problem. I always try to rush. So then you want to be able to refresh, and of course you want to be able to shield drop. And this just kind of helps you move around on platforms and counter hit people. Double shine. And you can think about the applications of all of this. You can think about how these all impact the opponent. When the opponent respects the options, when they know that you can do them well, how do things change? So make sure you take your practice seriously, and you go slow, you build speed. So again, you can do a slower double shine. You want to be able to do double shine on shield and off shield. You know, different reverse lasers. So these. Well, come out, laser. And then you obviously want to be able to do these. So different reverse lasers, because sometimes you just want to be able to protect yourself. You gotta get out of there. I don't know. I don't care what's going on. I want to get out of there. Different heights. And you want to be able to shoot low to hit smaller characters, or hit jumps, or hit power shields and go over it. And there's even stuff like. There's even some different stuff you can practice if you want to be more experimental, which is like, which is not so much like a basic tech practice, but it's like a stage knowledge. So, if I'm cornered on battlefield, I can dash jump and I can make it to the top of the battlefield platform. That's important information to know because that gives you another way to get out of the corner. So that means if I dash jump and someone tries to attack, I can just double jump backwards because now they have to try and cover that top platform. So stage knowledge can be really important, you know, and also being able to where you can get to from your double jump, when you fake going in, all kinds of things like that. So stage knowledge is something that you can actually practice as well. And this can be more complicated on Fountain of Dreams and Pokemon Stadium because of transformations and the platform heights changing. Okay. And a little bit more of other basic things you can practice. You practice platform lasers. This is how you can hit Peach's float. If she does the float, because she has to float above the platform or she'll land on it. So if you're up here and you're shooting low lasers, you can hit her float, and then that can encourage her to come down. So you can come down and shoot her right here, and then you can pressure her when she's back on the ground, and you can play a vertical kind of game with her that way. And also if Fox or Sheik are on the platform, or if Puff is it high in the air, you know, you can harass her with lasers. This can all be, and if a character's off stage, well, you can threaten this way, okay? So I can run off and do this double jump. I can run off and do this laser. I can do this. So there's all kinds of mix-ups you can do with vertical lasers, and it's good to just play around because this kind of stuff and linking all that together can really feel good when you're in a match, and it's one of the things that's just fun about playing Falco. Okay. So that's kind of everything I want to talk about for the basic tech, and now we're going to go into we're going to talk about neutral. I'm going to use 20XX to kind of run you through some basic stuff for practice, how to beat some basic options, and then we're going to talk about, you know, the extension of that, doing neutral that goes into hitting shield pressure, and then neutral that goes into punish a little bit, and that'll be about it. So for this, I'm going to mainly be working with Fox. Because he's, you know, very comboable, and, you know, he has good out of shield, so he's kind of just a good guy to work with. Alright. So, the first thing you want to do You want to pause. You want to hit D-pad right, and this is that'll show you that menu that I just had come up, and that's what you want to have right there. Is 20xx on, develop off. Keep hitting D-pad right until that's what you have. And now, the 20xx menu is what allows you to control Fox and easily set up save states and replays and everything. That's going to let you practice beating different things. So, then you hit D-pad down to open up the 20xx menu. And this took me a little bit to figure out, so I'm going to try and go through this reasonably so people can remember what's going on. Basically, all you need to know here is that the player P1 at the top is the first player, and then you want to see who it's controlled by. So right now I want to control Fox, so I'm going to put controlled by player 2. There's not a second player controller plugged in, so this means Falco's not going to do anything if I do an input. Then I'm going to come up here, control stick over to player 2, and I'm controlled by player 1, and I'm going to change the type to human. This means Fox will be under my control. And I'm going to D-pad down to exit the menu and unpause. So now I have control of Fox, and anything I input will just be Fox's control, and not Falco. So that's simple enough. So, now what you want to do is you want to think about, let's see. So, now when you're doing this matchup specific stuff, what you want to do is you want to get the opponent to do the exact input that you want to beat, and then you want to save it and then replay it as much as you can so you can beat it. So these are things that often people complain about, like Mart's approaching short up nair against Falco, Xxx approaching fair, and sometimes even Fox's nair is something people complain about. So I'm going to go ahead and make a save state, which is basically just setting up for a replay, and then we're going to show how to practice punishing nair. So I hit D-pad right and then I paused because for me it's more comfortable to just go into what I'm going to show right after I do that. So when I hit D-pad right, you hear that noise, and that lets you know you set up the save state. D-pad right is the saving, and so whatever position and percent you're at, that'll reload when you press D-pad left, and that'll load the save state. So I'm going to unpause, and I'm going to have Fox do a short. Well, first actually, I'm going to open up the menu. I'm going to change the replay state to recording, so it records what I do now that I've set up the save state. And then I'm going to have Fox do the nair. So I'm going to close with D-pad down, I'm going to unpause, and I'm going to do the nair. So that's what I wanted to do, and took a few frames. And so I'm going to set this to playback so you guys can see. And you just control stick over till you get that. So there's the nair. This is what we want to practice beating. Okay? So every time I hit D-pad left, Fox will do the nair, and every time I let it go, it just goes. So what do I do about nair? And I can have all kinds of ideas. I can... Oh, whoops. I forgot to switch control. So let me have Fox controlled by player 2 so I don't mess with him when I do anything. And I'll have Falco controlled by me. And I don't think I need to record. I'm just going to do a bunch of different stuff. So let's go forward again. So you can see I can just dash back and dodge. I can just hit his landing. So that's one way to beat the back air. Can I down air? I can, if I'm early. If I'm late, then I get hit. If it's about the same, then it's fine. So you need to test when you're early versus you're late versus you act at the same time. So right there we're about the same time and I win, but I didn't knock him down. So he actually kind of has an advantage there. So this is kind of complicated and you have to play with percent to get this right. There's other things. Yep, the turnaround up tilt pretty hard to get in time sometimes. But as you can see, it does work. I can even be early. And, of course I can hold down and punish. I can move back, as I said. I can grab. So there's all kinds of things I can do to punish this move. And we'll do Mart's nair to make it a little bit more realistic as well. I just kind of want to show a basic example to get that started. And we're going to kind of run through it one more time. Thank you, Marth. So again, I'm going to go through this, what I already showed. Human. So this is about the space where Marth will do the nair. And so again, if I was right here, it's a little different than if I'm right over here. So if I'm right here, you know, it's a lot more difficult to beat the nair because it's going to come out right away than if I'm over here where I have to approach. But you're also more likely to laser in this space. So that's what we're going to be messing with. So, I'm going to record. Well, hold on. Save state with D-pad right. Now I'm going to record. Oh, whoops. Hold on. Alright, let's try that again. Messed that up. I meant to do a nair, didn't do a nair. So let's try that again. Okay. So, that's what I recorded. Now let me go to Falco. So there you go. You see Marth approaching, doing that shield. So again, we're just going to practice beating what Marth did. And so the laser loses a lot of the time. So if we act at the same time, I lose. So this is the same time. I have to be early. So I have to do that, and even then it trades, right? So I can hit his landing lag there. I can back air. Sometimes. See, it's a bit hard to hit every time. So you gotta really practice and get this down. Can't nair that. Oh, I guess I can fair. That's cool. I can grab. Didn't get his shield out. And so obviously he can fast fall, auto cancel the nair. But the higher one, the second hit will hit the laser. So you have to kind of play with what you think is good. And just, again, keep hitting D-pad left to load the state. So every time I do this, it comes through. And then he shields afterwards. So that way, I know that you know, I think I couldn't get that punish. Oh, I guess he shielded kind of late, actually. No, he didn't. He just changed his timing based on whether he hit or not. And I should have held L earlier because of that. But anyway, you get the right idea. So, you can do this with Xxx Fair too. If you, I don't think this needs to be shown, but again, you know, it's the right idea. When you're cornered, you really want to be able to, you know your options and get out of there, because so many Falcos, they try to laser anyway, and Xxx just hops over and hits them. So let's see. Right, so let's look at shield pressure real quick. Well, shield hold, and then what is the button? It's I guess you can't hit him when he's like that. But yeah, anyway, he's going to pop out of this in a second. Let's see. A D-pad down. Okay. So A and D-pad down. Alright, got it. I was doing A and D-pad up. So, what I did there was I went to player 2. I left him on CPU, and I turned him to 20xx CPU type shield hold. I exited out with D-pad down, and then I hit A and D-pad down, so that Fox will keep his shield held. Okay? So this lets you do all kinds of practice. So let's say you're practicing your laser nair approach that you were doing in neutral and that you did in your basic tech practice. You gotta make sure you're hitting hitting shield low enough. If you want to turn on L cancel codes to see if you're getting your L cancel, you can. Sometimes you have to worry about whether they're going to wave dash out a shield or not, so you have to maybe double press your L cancel or you know, do it with a pretty good timing. So, or you have to react. So there's a lot of things that you can test there, and you can see if it'll work or not. It's important to you know. It's also kind of interesting to see that you can actually space right here. So even though you might not be able to hit Fox if he moves, you can hit his shield, right? So there's a lot you can actually do with this. You can see how far away your back air hits. Okay, it doesn't hit there, doesn't hit there. It does hit there. So you can learn the very edge, and you can learn when to drift in. And so you can be right here. They can't do anything. You can drift in. And so there's a lot of different things you can do that you might not normally think about when you're just messing around with someone shielding. So this is one of the main things you're going to want to do is do the double shine practice. And again, you just want to make sure that you're getting comfortable going from jump to B. If you're using Y or X as quickly as possible, and you want to make sure, it's different. It's a different timing than when you're not hitting someone. You have to delay the jump input by a little bit because there's some stun from hitting shield. Okay. So now we just have some punish stuff, and then I think we'll be all good. All right. So I'm mainly just going to use Fox for this again, but again, the stuff all applies to other characters. So, right, get out of here. Okay, so let's do. No, we don't need to. Yeah, okay. Okay, good. Alright, so now this is going to be kind of punish practice, and you want to make sure, and you can start with 0 because, you know, 0 it's really difficult. You want to get past crouch cancel percents and all that stuff, and you want to see the impact DI has on stuff, okay? So generally, some of the thresholds you want to look at when you're practicing are kind of like 0%, 40%, which is about when knockdowns start and when you can really start comboing, and then you want to look at high percent for when you can do kill setups. And then you want to start with similar starting positions and change the CPU DI. Okay? So I kind of do this in a weird way because I haven't figured out how to 20xx this super well, but here's something that can kind of get you started. And I do, if I want to practice DIing, I'll do, I'll have Fox taunt, so that way you can do a bunch of inputs while he's taunting, and he won't move. So I save state, then I pause. I set the 20xx menu to recording. I'm going to exit this with D-pad down, and then I'm going to have Fox taunt with D-pad up, and then I'm going to do a bunch of inputs with the control stick so that he's going to move to the side. Because normally if you're down air shining, I'm going to do a down air shine approach, and I'm going to show the difference between him just going straight up. Well, I guess let me do that first actually. Oops. I was controlling Fox. So let's see what it looks like first actually. Okay, so he pretty much goes up and stays in place, right? So I reloaded, D-pad left. Alright. So now I'm going to record, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when Fox does DI to the right. And record. Alright. Playback. Okay, so this looks good. So we're gonna load. I don't know what happened before, but we're gonna load. Maybe I just didn't hit playback. I'm not sure. So So we're going to load with D-pad left. Okay, so you saw the difference. Oops. So he goes super far this time. So if I move down, like I was going to punish the regular DI, he gets away. See? And even if I wave dash in, it's hard to catch him. So, you want to make sure when you're punishing that you're chasing down, that you're wave dashing towards where they are a lot of the time, okay? And that's kind of a simple one. And I'm going to get Fox's percent higher so I can show some kill setups. Or at least get you the idea of testing them. There are probably faster ways to do this, but... Okay. So I'm save stating here, D-pad right. So if he doesn't DI, that's kind of how things go, right? So you can kill him if he's not DIing, you can kill him a bunch of different ways. But let's turn on the menu once again. Actually, hold on a moment. Have him turn around. And we'll have him DI to the left. So we're going to have him DI off the level. And we're going to see what happens. Okay. All right. Play back. Okay, so he's going to be DIing to the left. So there's no way I'm getting this, right? So look. So that's an issue. Can't get it with up tilt either. But I can get it with turnaround up tilt, okay? I can barely get it. And down tilt, he actually just dies right there to that. I think I can get that kill. Oh wow. So see, he goes really far away if he's just SDIing, but let's do it again. Let's instead have Fox just hold away, because a lot of Foxes at this percent, they're not going to always be SDIing, because you can kind of see that if you just hit them with like a stray move, they could die. So let's do something where they just hold away, which is a little more realistic in some cases. And we'll have him... I'm just having him hold away now, so it's a little different. Have him play back. And so now you can see that you can actually follow up a little bit. And down tilt can still kill. But the down air doesn't send him as far away, so that's going to be a bit harder to convert off of. But nair will still send him pretty far. So you can see that there are kind of DI mix-ups where you can just kill, and then there are still some kill setups you can do, okay? So you want to look for, and you can kind of see, if you hit him on the other side, there's a lot of different things you can do there. And let's suppose that he wasn't over the edge. Let's suppose he was in the middle of the stage. Well, hold on. So you could still kill him right there with a different mix-up. And then you could... hold on. You can mix up the shine back air and the shine up B as another mix-up right there, and you can practice when that kills, what position on the stage that kills, and all kinds of things. So even though there's already data on I Need Data, IKNEEDATA, ineeddata.com, you still want to be able to practice setting up into kills, and that sort of thing that you're going to need to be able to practice on your own. So this is not meant to cover all scenarios. It's you just want to kind of look for your mix-ups. You want to look for again, if I was going into 40%, you'd be looking at dare tech chase and being able to down air someone on a platform and tech chase them, all that kind of stuff. But this isn't meant to cover all scenarios. It's just to get you started with kills versus combos versus your low percent maximization. All right, so this kind of concludes the showing you how to do everything portion of the guide. I'm just going to answer what I believe would be some frequently asked questions about practice here at the end. So, the first one of these that I kind of get a lot is, how long should I practice? And my answer to that is, the basic tech by itself, combined with neutral without hitting anyone, can take a long time, and you can do this for hours with shadow boxing. So a long time can be, an hour, 3 hours, whatever. You want to use whatever time you have and prioritize whatever needs work the most with your tech as a base. Modifying it to suit your needs and keep you sharp is best. If you want a hard number, I'd say 30 minutes is a good minimum. That lets you kind of get warmed up, go into some stuff that you need to work on, some neutral, a bit of shield pressure, some edge tech, and a little bit of maybe punish work. Make sure you can still tech chase or whatever, and that's a pretty quick and solid 30 minutes. But you can up the number more or less. But sometimes you want to do more friendlies or analysis. You've got a lot of ideas to practice, and you want to do more. You want to do more application. So you should do more application. Don't feel that you need to hit a number, and if you do have to hit a number, maybe you prioritize different things because maybe you're strong in one area, weaker in another area. So 30 minutes is a good minimum, but play around with it. It can be flexible. It's practice. It's meant to grow, and you're going to be growing and changing with it. The next question is, this is all pretty overwhelming. What do I do? Just start with the basic practice and work on whatever else you think is most important one at a time as needed. Because there's a lot you could do. There's so much in Melee. Really, just the most important thing is just starting. Just start somewhere. Just wave dash. That's why I joke about wave dashing on my stream. Just wave dash. It doesn't, it's something good to do. It's something that is good to do. Don't overcomplicate. Build one at a time. Build your routine. See what feels good for you. And, take it easy. Does this stuff also apply to Marth or other characters? It sure does. You may find less overall things to practice with non-spacies because there's so many angles for spacies to attack and so much tech skill, and because they have to also deal with shield pressure and a lot of things like that other characters don't have to do as much with. But just because you have less thing to practice, this opens up more time for neutral and punish experimentation, and it also gives you more time for friendlies and analysis. So you still want to be able to put time into practice, like even if you're a lot of people make fun of puff players, but you want to be able to do everything as fast as possible. You want to be able to make sure that your weave is really good, your drift is good, and you want to make sure that you're doing everything that you can do as well as possible. What if I don't have 20XX? It shouldn't be terribly hard to get unless you're computer illiterate like me, as you saw a little bit there. But basic practice will work similarly. And let me just say, since I forgot this, let me put this here now. Hold start on the 20XX menu to go into single player practice. And if you're not on 20XX, you want to hit A on name entry after you've been holding B to go back a screen, and B and A on the same frame. That'll actually put you into the stage select menu. So if you don't have 20XX, that's the way to get there. But if you want 20XX, Google will help you out. And imagination and a training partner will be required to test more things out, but it's really not the worst thing in the world. We may do before 20XX, Okay, so the last question is kind of a catch-all. I tried this routine or others and it didn't really work. Why is that? What seems to help many people is really focusing on the basic actions as you do them and thinking of what stuff like laser is made of. So again, maybe you didn't do that. Maybe you skipped over that part of what I was talking about, or something like that, and maybe it's just not helping you, or you're not feeling it quite right when you do it. So again, you want to think about how does the short hop part of a laser affect the opponent. If you short hop, they know that you're not going to run if you short hop in place. How does that affect the opponent? If you're trying to get faster, make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself and trying to go really fast. Go slow, build speed, apply where you can, ask questions if you get stuck. And again, you want to think about all kinds of things, not just what it looks like visually, but even the audio cue. So if you start up a laser and they hear the sound of the gun pulling out and they start to hear the click of the fire, you can use that to shoot blanks like fake lasers, and that can mess with people. Or that that's another cue for them to tap into, for them to react to. So if you're going to laser, maybe you change your spacing so that they hear it and they go into an automatic punish, but they're in the wrong place, but they think they're in a different place. So there's a lot of things you can do to kind of mess with them. But if this isn't working, maybe there's another issue, like it's an outside problem, like it's poor sleep or overall health, which, again, I'm always trying to tie into things now, of course. You could address that to improve your focus and clarity. But it could be meditation that'll help you focus. It could be reading and exercise. There are different things that can kind of help. And sometimes, maybe there's a distraction that's an emotional one outside of the game that's kind of pulling your attention away, so that you're not really present to your practice. You're not really engaged with the game when you practice. And then, so sometimes get creative, or even change the routine that I'm putting down. Whatever you need to do to make yourself comfortable when you're there. Maybe you need to change the room, the environment you're practicing in, just whatever. Just keep looking until you find what works. And that's kind of what I say here at the end. Training in and out of the game may relate, and so asking yourself if there's a weak life area, putting your focus there could be useful. So it's kind of reiterating what I said before. And that's about it for the guide. I hope you guys found this useful. This does, again, like I said, apply to other characters. And ask me any questions that you have about improving it or more things. I kind of just want to go over the basic things and get you guys started, and add a little bit for a bit higher level players as well. So thank you for watching. Appreciate you.